Our countdown to camp is officially on, and we start the spotlight on three young players trying to fit in today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is September 16th. It will be September 17th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Ike. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, we're going to start the spotlight. We're going to start the countdown to camp. That's the name, what we're going to call this series. We're going to break down what's expected of three young players. We've talked about a few of them already, but three young players who are trying to break into the Magic's rotation and be part of this new wave. We'll get to the storylines to watch for them coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. We hope you make us a daily part of your day. Be one of our Orlando Magic dailies. It's all part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Young teams are winning teams, which the Magic are now. Magic are a winning team. We're aiming for a championship. We're talking openly about championships. Winning teams often have little time for young players. Like, they need them. They need the salary ballast. They need the salaries to work out and give them something that might be a little bit cheaper, but young players are inconsistent. Young players are trying to figure out who they are in the league. They're trying to figure out what they can do. They're prone to make mistakes. They're not as precise as a veteran player who's done this for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And so winning teams, they need young players. They need athleticism. They need young players to help them out. Do not get me wrong. But young teams typically cannot rely, or winning teams typically cannot rely on young players, or can't rely on them too much. But the fact of the matter is, this Orlando Magic team is still very young. Yes, Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner are not your typical veterans. They're just starting, or Franz is just starting his second contract. They're going to make mistakes. That's neither good nor bad. That just is the fact. They're going to make mistakes, and their mistakes you will live with because they will grow and get better, and they make up for it on other ends. If you are a rookie who is a role player, your margin for error is typically much smaller. And typically, those role players are not where you see young players thrive and survive. They may have to do more, or they may have like very self-contained roles, but that's not where the money is. That's not what's going to help propel the team. But the fact of the matter is, this team is not just young because of Paolo and Franz. This team is young because they're relying on a lot of young players off their bench. And no player may be under the spotlight more. No player may have more pressure on him to take a clear step up than Anthony Black. On one end, Anthony Black is already an excellent defender. If there's an area where young players typically struggle, it's on defense. They don't defend particularly well. They make mistakes. Their attention wanders. They don't have the details. Anthony Black is an excellent defender. One of the best young defenders in this league. And you hope that this is a season where he takes, I don't want to say a leap on that end, but people start to notice how good he is on that end and the instincts that he has on that end. But ultimately, the Magic have a lot of defenders, and his defense is important and a key part because he's coming off the bench and he'll play next to Tyus Jones, most likely, who's not a good defender, or not a plus defender all the time. This team's defense is not its problem. It's its offense. And at this point, Anthony Black hasn't quite figured out what he is offensively. Now, last year was a step forward. Do not get me wrong. 9.4 points per game. Took more threes, 2.5 3-point attempts per game, shot 31.8%, finished at 42.3%. He was much more active and involved than he was in his rookie year, where very similar to Tristan da Silva, who we'll talk about again in our second segment, like similar to Tristan da Silva, kind of faded out of the rotation his rookie year. In his sophomore year, he had a clearly established role. He understood what he was supposed to do and was able to perform it fairly well. The trick now for Anthony Black is consistency. If you look at the splits between wins and losses for the Orlando Magic last year, again, just wins and losses for the Orlando Magic, Anthony Black's play was correlative. I wouldn't say it's causation, but there's definitely a correlation between wins and losses. And the 39 wins that Anthony Black played in, and again, the Magic finished 41-41, and the 39 wins he played in, he averaged 10.7 points per game and shot 40.8% from three. Magic were plus 15.3 points per game when the Magic won. In the 39 losses that he played in, he averaged only 8.1 points per game, but shot just 21.7% from three. That kind of a massive split says two things. One, you didn't know what kind of offensive game or what kind of game you were going to get from Anthony Black on a nightly basis. And that's something that has to change. Because now, I don't want to call him the sixth man, but if you look at the Magic's bench, they have taken away a lot of scoring off the bench. If I have a major concern for this season, and I've expressed this, but if I have a major concern, it's that the bench isn't going to be as strong as it was in previous seasons. And maybe that's not as important because the Magic starting group should be much better offensively, but it's still going to be something to watch. Between Tyus Jones, Anthony Black, Tristan da Silva, Jonathan Isaac, and Mo Wagner, Mo is the only offense-first player. And yes, the Magic shouldn't go 10 deep. One of Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, Desmond Bane is going to be on the floor at all times. But this also feels like a moment where the Magic are pushing Anthony Black forward. They're preparing to give him more. They're preparing to see him do a whole lot more. And maybe that means he's doing more point guard stuff. He was drafted to be a point guard. He is an excellent driver. He is, when he gets, some wind behind him, and he's running in transit, playing in transition, playing fast. He makes good decisions. Give him a lane to the basket. He's going to take it. May not be able to do the start and stop. May not be able to change direction. He's an interesting passer, but we really haven't seen him do that. Unless the Magic do plan to make him a point guard, and they acquired Tyus Jones, which suggests they're not. Ultimately, Anthony Black's success is going to come down to whether he can be a threat from three, whether that shot has come around, or whether he can be a much better driver. Regardless of anything else, Anthony Black is a solid player and someone that the Magic can trust in their rotation and off their bench. But how much and to what role is the ultimate question? I'm not going to sit here and say Anthony Black's about to become a sixth man of the year candidate. I don't believe that. But if he can be a solid bench option, a solid sixth man, beyond his defense, someone who is a reliable three-point shooter, upper 30s even, mid-30s would be fine. Someone the Magic can count on to supplement his defense and give them that cushion. That's going to go a long way to the Magic's success. We know Paolo Banchero is going to be a superstar. We know Franz Wagner is going to be a superstar. We're pretty sure Desmond Bane is going to provide some shooting and spacing to the lineups he's in. We're pretty sure Jalen Suggs is going to give that lift as well. What we don't know and what could determine whether the Magic are championship contenders this year is whether a player like Anthony Black takes the leap. Whether a player like Anthony Black suddenly becomes, I don't want to say a star because not quite a star, but suddenly becomes a more consistent offensive threat. There is no hiding from this aspect of things. Anthony Black is extension eligible next summer. And the question I've been kind of circling in my head is, what contract do you give him today? If you had to sign him to a new contract today, what is that number? What are those years? And while Anthony Black has done some very good things, Now the Magic needs something a little more specific. Now the Magic needs something that works a little bit better. And that is the ultimate question now. And that is the ask to say, where do the Magic go here next? Where do the Magic take this next? And where does Anthony Black take himself to be part of this team that's going to need specific things to be successful? AB has had a solid first 2 seasons, but this is the season he has to find consistency, because a lot of things start to fall apart if he's not in place. I want to talk a little bit more about that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Monarch helps you maximize investments, increase your savings rate, and easily review finances with your partner or financial advisor, keeping a clear view of your financial health week to week and long term. Having everything organized for you is the first key to taking control. Let Monarch Money do that. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. Again, that's LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com. 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNBA. I want to linger a little bit on Anthony Black here, just because he's a big piece of this puzzle. Like he's not the key to the whole thing. Obviously, that's like Paolo, Franz, Bane, Suggs, like how those 4 players interact. That's ultimately what's going to decide whether this Magic experiment is successful or not. That's what's going to matter in the end. But Anthony Black plays a much bigger role in all of this. I mentioned this at the top of the show. Rookie contracts are so valuable. And obviously we're running out of time on a rookie contract for Anthony Black. He's got 2 years left on his rookie deal. Having young players begin to supplement and fill out your roster is so vital. And Black is a player who's got loads of potential. Like Anthony Black can do almost anything. Like the idea behind him as a player is just so intriguing. A 6'7" guard who can handle the ball, run point, defend every position, essentially every position. You probably can't defend 5s, but defend a lot of positions at a high level at his age, can get to the basket. It's just all about confidence with him. Like I've joked with people that it just sometimes feels like Anthony Black doesn't realize how good he is. And I say that about a lot of players on the Magic, unfortunately. But he doesn't always understand the responsibility that he has. Now there's no excuse. Like the Magic, I think, are trying to push Black forward. Because again, you look at that bench. If the Magic go 10 deep, their second 5 is Anthony Black, Tyus Jones, Tristan da Silva, Jonathan Isaac, Mo Wagner, or Goga Bitadze, whoever you want it to be. Anthony Black needs to be the driving force of that team. And that's why so much attention has to go on him. That's why this is a big season. Now, he's going to play with Franz Wagner a lot. He's going to play with Paolo Banchero a lot, and he plays really well off of Paolo. Would not shock me if the rotation this year is Anthony Black checks in first for Jalen Suggs, so he can play a little bit more with that starting group. And Jalen Suggs can help anchor the second unit with Franz or with potentially Desmond Bane. Probably with Franz. Anthony Black has these eyes on him to take that next step, to be a playmaker, to make other players' lives easier. So you're not just trotting a lineup where Jalen Suggs is your top guy or Franz Wagner has to be the lead character. Not that he can't do it, but you want to spread the wealth around. And that remains the challenge. That remains the mystery of Anthony Black. And that's why he is such a key figure for this team. The other two players I want to talk about are also young. We're kind of hitting all the rookie contracts. We're going to leave Noah Penda for another day. I have a lot to think. I have a lot of thoughts on Noah Penda. I'm really excited about this kid. Like there's a long way to go. Do not get me wrong. Long way to go on Noah Penda, but I really, really like the potential in him. We've talked a lot about Tristan da Silva over the last 2-3 episodes because he's been playing with the German national team. There's a big story. That was obviously a huge story for him. Average about 10 points per game in EuroBasket. Scored in double figures in 4 of the last 5 games. At 13 points in the final. Shot better than 50% from 3. I think it was I'm blanking on the numbers now. Shot better than 50% from 3 throughout the entire tournament. He showed us that he can be a 3-and-D wing. I loved his defense the entire tournament. He defended multiple positions, and he got beat a few times. Like, I don't think we're confusing him for a starter or anything. He got beat a few times. But there's still a lot of good there. A lot of good. And now we get to see how it translates to the NBA. Tristan da Silva did not have a bad rookie season by any stretch of the imagination. 7.2 points per game is solid for the number 16 pick. Shot 33.5% from 3, 41.2% from the floor. Hit a bit of the rookie wall, was leaned on a lot, didn't make a ton of mistakes. Like he looked like a veteran, which is what the Magic expected. He looked like a veteran, and he delivered a lot for this team. A lot for this team. But he got phased out as the season went on. He didn't play a lot during the stretch. He played about 15 minutes per game during that last 18-game stretch. And played only 5 total minutes in the playoffs. Maybe there were, Paolo and Franz ate up a lot of minutes. The Magic could not afford to be without either of them on the floor, to be frank. And so Da Silva was kind of the sacrifice. Like I said, if you're going to play a 10-man rotation, which I don't think the Magic will, but if you're looking at a 10-man rotation, Tristan da Silva is the backup 3 in that second 5. And if he plays the way that he played at EuroBasket, if he shoots the ball as well as he did, certainly, if he defends the way that he defends, if he's aggressive and knows when to be aggressive, which he showed at EuroBasket, it's going to be impossible to keep him off the floor. Because A, the Magic still need shooting, and B, Da Silva is a good defender. Da Silva knows where to be, and he's not going to try to do too much. I can't stress how important that is. He is someone who stars in his role and understands it and can scale himself back to meet that role. Tristan da Silva is in for a big season. Again, if anything, if there's anything to prove, if there's anything to say about the way that he played in EuroBasket, it's that it is exactly the way the Magic want him to play. It is exactly the way the Magic that's exactly what the Magic want to see from him and what he can bring to this team. He's young, so there still might be some inconsistency. And again, doing it at EuroBasket is a little bit different than doing it from the NBA. Doing it at EuroBasket is better than doing it in summer leagues. EuroBasket's a higher level of competition. Summer league is summer league. Looked good in summer league. Made some turnovers, but I think that was on purpose. I think the Magic wanted him to be uber aggressive and more aggressive than he normally is. There's plenty to like. It's been a very good summer for Tristan da Silva. But more than anything, this summer showed that he is ready to take on that larger role. This summer showed that he is ready to be that featured player. And now the proof will come whether he wins that spot in camp, whether he wins those minutes in camp, and whether he can deliver what he delivered in EuroBasket in the NBA. Certainly it feels like he has taken that step. Certainly it feels like he is ready. And again, you look at the best teams in the league, They have role players who know exactly who they are and don't try to do too much. It's a common phrase. You don't need 5 all-stars. You need 5 guys who star in their roles. Tristan da Silva showed us at EuroBasket he can star in this role. And that's what the Magic need to see from him. We've been talking a lot about the bench. The big weakness for the bench and why one player is surprisingly fit to fill it. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5 Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get that boost when you need it. We all hit those 3 p.m. doldrums. We need a snack. We usually don't pick a good snack from the break room. We need something to power us through the rest of the day and into our night activities. We don't just live to work after all. 5 Hour Energy is right there in reach to help you get that last kick of energy you need to finish your day strong. Run through the tape. It kicks in fast and it's sugar-free, so you don't have to worry about crashing later. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in-store and online at www.5hourenergy.com. That's the number 5hourenergy.com, or find it on Amazon today. We have not spent a lot of time since Summer League ended talking about Jace Richardson. In fact, as exciting as it always is to have a rookie, shiny new toy, we all expect that Jace Richardson will not be in the rotation. In fact, we expect both Magic rookies to not be in the rotation. That's normal. We're a winning team now. Young players have to fight and earn their way on. They have to prove themselves capable of contributing to a team that expects to win. Winning is really hard, and rookies don't know how to win at the NBA level. Obviously, the goal is to eventually develop them and get them into playing time. You don't draft someone to let them languish on the bench. You draft them because you believe they can contribute something to your team. And as I always say, all 15 guys, 14 in the Magic's case, plus your 2-way guys, all of them are going to be needed at some point. Every single one of them is going to be called on for meaningful minutes and have to step in and help. And everybody needs to be ready because every win counts if you're in a tight battle in the standings. You don't have the opportunity to sleepwalk through games or say, oh, we're not going to worry about this one. They all matter, and the good teams win even when they have to rely on their deep bench. The good teams have guys on their deep bench that should be playing. We don't know yet if Jace Richardson is that guy. But the theory of drafting him is sound. Because Jace Richardson could provide the Magic with something that they currently do not have coming off their bench. When we think of sixth men, I still think of John Starks. For whatever reason, John Starks to me is like the first guy I think of when I think of a sixth man. You might think of Lou Williams. You might think of Jamal Crawford. The Magic don't have a Starks, Crawford, or Williams. They don't have a gunner. Terrence Ross was this way. They don't have a guy that can just come off the bench, go on a heater, and win you a game. They traded him to Memphis for Desmond Bane. And while Cole Anthony had his flaws, Cole Anthony was good for winning you 2-3 games a year just because he got hot. Did it against Miami in that epic comeback. Did it against Brooklyn, although I think he started in that game. Did it against Milwaukee in March. The Magic don't have a heater off the bench. They don't have that guy. That's why I'm concerned that Anthony Black's going to have to do a lot more. Or they're going to have to shrink the rotation to ensure that one of those 4 guys is on the floor. Well, what happens if one of them's injured? There's a precarious balance that the Magic are going to have to work on and figure out. But they do have one potential option, and that is Jace Richardson. Jace Richardson at Michigan State was a scorer. Once he got his sea legs under him as a freshman, and once he kind of figured things out, he was so vital to Michigan State's success. Everyone expected, if you go back and listen to our episode with Locked On Spartans, everyone expected him to stay multiple years when they got him. And it was very, very clear by the time the tournament came around, this kid cannot stay. He is ready for the league. Last year, he averaged 12.1 points per game and shot 41.2% from three. Not sterling numbers, but he was one of the most efficient finishers at the rim, especially for a player of his size. And he showed that it could translate at Summer League. At Summer League, he played only 2 games, but scored 33 total points, shot 10 for 18 from the floor, and 3 for 6 from 3. This is a kid who has scoring instincts. He's not selfish. I don't think he's a gunner in the way that we're thinking of some of these guys as gunners. But if the Magic needs someone to go out and get a bucket, if the Magic needs someone to go out and score for them off their bench, Jace Richardson, at least in theory, has the skills. Now, again, like, he's a rookie. He's undersized. All these things that we worried about in the pre-draft process. But there's no doubt he has an excellent jumper if you get him open. There's no doubt he's going to fight and play fast. That was something we saw throughout Summer League. And there's no doubt that he's going to find a way to fit in and contribute. There's no doubt. If he can translate his finishing at the rim and his ability to attack the basket like he did at Summer League to the big show, to the big NBA, then that answers that question. And the Magic do have another scorer off the bench, even if he's a little undersized. Now, there's still work to do. There's still a lot unknown. I can't sit here and say he's definitely going to do all these things. Right now, it's all potential. Whenever you have a player that small, and again, size is a big issue with him. That's why he fell to the Magic where they drafted him. Getting separation for your shot is so critical. Getting separation for your shot is the game. And that's not always easy to do. And we don't know if he can do it yet because he hasn't faced NBA defenders. Not yet, at least. But Jace Richardson, at least in theory, has something the Magic need. And while, yes, I don't see him in the rotation for most of the year. When this team is healthy, Jace is going to have to sit and learn. There may be times where it's beneficial to have him get a couple games in the G League. Would not shock me in the least. I don't think that's what the Magic want to do. That's not typically what the Magic do, but would not shock me if he gets a couple looks there. But Jace Richardson is someone who fits in. Someone who can give this team a big boost, and someone that can help them win games. We just have to see how this young player translates to the league. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. You can find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the fun places to download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can find us on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. Free post yesterday is up on Tristan da Silva and what he gained from EuroBasket. Tomorrow, I'll be writing a little bit more about how impactful Anthony Black will be for the Magic this season. Subscribe to that now. You get it in your inbox around noon every day. Patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. It is the countdown to camp, of course, and the Locked On NBA Top 100 is here. Voted on by the NBA hosts of the Locked On Podcast Network, our Top 100 was formed by experts that cover these teams and players every day. Find the full list on Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't miss my reaction to the list. It was last Wednesday. I did my breakdown of where the Magic sit on the list, as well as last Tuesday, where I talked with Kuka Heel of Locked On Pistons about the Paolo versus Cade debate. Check that out, plus all the great episodes on the Locked On Top 100. You can find it throughout the Locked On Podcast Network, on Locked On NBA, and wherever you get your podcasts. All part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our countdown to camp will continue tomorrow. We'll talk about the shooters for the Orlando Magic. We'll dive into some Desmond Bane, some Tyus Jones, and figure out where else the Magic are going to get shooting this year. That's going to be on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.